Recording in progress.
Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Madera City Council. Today is Wednesday, November 16th, 2000. It is now 6 p.m. The council chambers will be open to the public. This meeting will also be available for public viewing and participation through Zoom. Members of the public may also observe the live streaming meeting on the city's website at www.madera.gov/live. Members of the public may comment on agenda items at the meeting or remotely through an electronic meeting via phone by dialing 669-900-6833. Enter ID number 840-297-4103 hashtag. Comments will also be accepted via email at citycouncilpubliccomment@madera.gov or by regular mail at 205 West 4th Street, Madera, California, 93637. I now call this meeting to order. Alicia, would you call the roll?
Mayor Garcia,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans,
Here.
Councilmember Gallegos,
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Montes,
Here.
Councilmember Mejia,
Here.
Councilmember Villegas.
Here.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Would you all please rise for the invocation led by Mayor Pro Tem Anita Evans?
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We can each and every one. Father, we come to you now just asking for your mercy, your grace, your love. We ask that you bring each and every one here in this building together, Father God, and remove self out of the way and allow you, Father, to come in and touch each one of our hearts. Father, we love you. Worship. Continue to hold close. I ask that you protect this office. I ask that you protect our lives, our families. I ask that you protect the city of Madera. Continue to hold us close and guide us, Father, leading us into the path of righteousness. Father, we come to you now and we say thank you. We ask these blessings, Father, in your Son's precious name, Christ Jesus. Amen.
We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Artemio Villegas. We will now move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any comments or changes to the agenda from my colleagues? Seeing none, I will now accept a motion.
I do have a question. Is this not a later submission or is just a correction? To approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda by Councilmember Montes, seconded by Councilmember Gallegos. Alicia, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Gallegos.
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Montes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia,
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas.
Yes.
And Mayor Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, Alicia. We will now move on to public comment. The first 15 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers will be asked but are not required to identify themselves and state the subject of their comments. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold that comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as a public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is open. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusion should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on public comment?
See it on?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, DJ Becker with the ADA Council. I'm here to just provide a quick update and provide you an example of how we're using city funds. We've been giving out these wheelchair flags for about 5 years, and they're a great success. As you know, the traffic volume in Madera has probably doubled. And just recently, probably the last year and a half, I've had lots of encounters with pedestrians and folks in power chairs where I have just gotten an earful about traffic and pedestrian safety. People are actually afraid to use crosswalks. One lady asked for 2 of these to increase her visibility. So if you would please consider that we have 1 traffic officer on duty. And thankfully, he's dedicated and on top of all the crosswalks that he can cover. We also this year are partnering again with the police department for the Save the Space campaign, wherein we publicize the need for respecting the space of the handicap parking. And we've had great success with that. We're also in the prospect of partnering with the police department to purchase more of these along with some reflectors to increase public safety. But just in closing, I've been alarmed at the alarm in our pedestrian community, at the rude and inconsiderate drivers, the speeds of which the pedestrians have to navigate our crosswalks. It is alarming. So if you would just please consider that. Thank you. And I think we have one other comment on that subject.
Thank you, JJ.
Mayor, City Council, Chief Watson, I'd like to introduce you to the newest City Battalion Chief, Chief Ralph Duran. Ralph Duran started with the city about 4 weeks ago. He's been getting reacclimated to the city. He did previously work at Station 57 as an engineer. Prior to starting in the fire service, he spent 10 years as a Marine, and at one point had 200 people under his command in the Marine Force. So he has a wealth of knowledge. He has vast experience in ladder truck operations. He worked in Fresno County on their truck that responded in the city of Fresno. He's also on USAR, Urban Search and Rescue, Team 5 out of Fresno, and that's a nationally recognized and available response team. Ralph is a father of 2 daughters, and him and his wife both have family here in Madera. So I'd like to introduce you to Chief Ralph Duran.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd just like to say thank you to the council for this opportunity, and I look forward to the hard work we have ahead, but continuing the safety that's been provided in this city and continuing and building upon that for all the citizens of Madera and their guests. Thank you again.
Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you, Council. And then, so that'll be the life and fire safety inspection, Senate Bill 1205, which is the new law that was enacted by the state government. So thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment?
Mayor, I do have one written public comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Cynthia Ortegon. I've been on the Madera ADA Advisory Council since 2006. It has come to my attention that the public safety of our pedestrians are at risk. The city only has 1 traffic officer for the whole city. Normally, there are 10 traffic officers patrolling our streets. This is alarming to me because a large portion of our population is below the poverty line. People take public transit or walk on streets that don't have proper sidewalks and cross streets and crosswalks that are dangerous to pedestrians due to lack of visibility and unseen police presence, driving on streets, watching out for speeders and drunk drivers. Having gone from 10 down to 1 traffic officer is unsafe for our community. We need all the help we can get to make and maintain safe roads, sidewalks, and crosswalks for pedestrians. Hiring the proper amount of traffic officers should be your priority. I hope you can make hiring more police traffic officers for traffic control and pedestrian safety. Thank you, Cynthia Ortegon.
Is that it, Alicia? Go ahead.
Yes.
Step up to the podium, please.
Thank you, council members, for being here. Thank you for the open forum. My name is Brandon Gerard Robichaud. I am a Afghan war veteran. I am a current member of the VFW and the Legion. I am new to the city of Madera, about 4.5 months, and new to California State. I'm originally from Rhode Island for 29 years, basically. I moved here because of my family, and I am a very big into community activism. And I am coming to you today to ask support for the VFW and the Legion. Both organizations, under my recommendation, are hurting very badly and could use support in any way possible. By recognition, I'm probably 30 years or 40 years younger than the next person who is a member of the Legion. I do know Angela Cock. She was a previous commander. She is still available and there when she can be. However, I'm still considered probably the youngest. I have yet to meet somebody else. I also want to thank Anita for your comments at the ceremony at the courthouse the other day. Any support that is given from the community and from the council and from anybody is going to help support the VFW and the Legion, our fellow veterans. And I would like the opportunity for you guys to discuss with the members of both the Legion and the VFW to discuss how we can further support these organizations so that way we can further support the community, not just veterans, but also our other community members. You have public forums like we did today for the merger of the community hospital and St. Agnes. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. Do we have any further public comment? Mark, do we have anyone on Zoom?
There's no one on Zoom.
Thank you very much, Mark. We will now close public comment and we will move on to a couple of presentations. Could I have Hilda Ortiz and Hortensia Bueno please come to the podium? Yeah, this is your house. You do whatever you want within reason. So we're in the holiday season. At this time, folks are starting to get active as far as purchasing for their loved ones, friends, family, and loved ones throughout the country. And one of the most innovative things that I saw a couple of years ago was to buy local. We look at big box stores, we look at the internet, we travel to different communities, sometimes far and wide, and we neglect to shop in our own neighborhoods. And we have hardworking folks here in our own communities who have products that are available that we can take advantage of and purchase. To that end, the City of Madera, this is the Office of the Mayor proclamation on behalf of our City Council also, Small Business Saturday. Today we recognize Ortiz Western Wear, whereas the City of Madera celebrates local and small businesses and the contributions they make to our economy and community, and whereas Ortiz Western Wear is a family-operated business since 2002 and located in the downtown Madera. Whereas Ortiz Western Wear supports and donates to Madera FFA, Future Farmers America, Madtown Robotics, and various nonprofit Mexican community committees. Whereas the City of Madera supports local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And therefore be resolved that I, Santos Garcia, Mayor of the City of Madera, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2022. I think it should be 16. But doesn't. On behalf of the entire Small Business Saturday, honoring Ortiz Western Wear, signed this 16th day of November, 2022.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Gracias por el reconocimiento a nuestros 20 años de trabajo. Empezamos de cero. Y gracias que ya tenemos 20 años en el negocio, un negocio muy familiar, como lo dijo el mayor. Y pues estamos muy agradecidos porque siempre nuestra prioridad ha sido siempre el cliente. Siempre.
Just very quickly, thank you very much. We've been working very hard over 20 years here in Madera, and we also recognize the importance of taking care of our customers.
Siempre el cliente primero para nosotros, siempre pensando en las necesidades, porque no queremos que sufran, no queremos que se preocupen cuando no encuentran un producto. Entonces nosotros siempre tratamos de conseguirlo para que ellos no se preocupen. Las preocupadas siempre somos nosotros.
We always make sure that if they can't find a specific item, we'll try to make sure that they get a comparable item, or we'll make sure that we look for another item that will satisfy their needs.
Pues gracias al Concilio de Madera y gracias a la comunidad y esperemos más años en servicio de nuestros clientes. Gracias y bendiciones.
Thank you, City Council, for this recognition. It means a lot to us, and we will work very hard to help our people here in Madera.
Pues necesito otro color porque ya me parezco con el negro.
Muchas felicidades a Ortiz Western Wear. Muchas gracias por todas las maneras en que aportan a nuestra comunidad y esperamos que sigan apoyando y que la comunidad igual sea recíproca y que los apoye. Thank you so much, Ortiz Western Wear, for the many ways in which you support our community, and we hope our community can be reciprocal and continue supporting you.
Yeah, that was Councilwoman Mejia that made those comments. Era concejal Mejía que hizo esos comentarios.
I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will read a couple of items here regarding the local businesses. GBS, this is Small Business Saturday proclamation for GBS Hardware. GBS opened in the 1940s at 1920 Howard Road. And GBS was built at its current location at 1808 Howard Road in 1986. And through good times and bad in the local construction industry, GBS continues to grow by offering its friends and neighbors the highest level of customer service with competitively priced merchandise. And the City of Madera supports local businesses. Therefore, today I proclaim Small Business Sunday, the month for GBS. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go.
Mayor, thank you. Looks like you said it all. We're going through a lot of changes right now. We finally bought a point of sale computer system that is really going to bring us out of the 50s. Yeah, he's one that gave me a bad time about it. So anyway, that's one thing that my father insisted we didn't do. And so to respect his wishes, we waited. And that's it. Thank you.
And while Dennis is coming up here, on behalf of the council, Dennis, we'd like to thank you for your service on the ADA. He missed that meeting when we recognized him. So thank you again for your service.
Sorry. All right, Tim, your turn. This proclamation is in recognition of National Injury Prevention Day. Injuries are the leading cause of death and disability to U.S. children ages 1 to 18. And as the only pediatric trauma center in Central California, Valley Children's Healthcare is a leader in providing pediatric specific treatment for injured children. And Valley Children's Healthcare recognizes the importance of injury prevention, and as the lead agency for Safe Kids Central California, works collaboratively with community agencies to prevent those tragedies by providing education and outreach to children and families through a variety of forums. Therefore, today is National Injury Prevention Day, and this is Tim Curley. Here you go.
Good evening, everybody. And Mr. Mayor and members of the council, we really appreciate this recognition tonight. As the proclamation said, injury is the leading cause of death for kids. And we have a very active trauma program and a very active injury prevention program, and getting the message out is critical. So this is one of the ways that we're working to get the message out, to make sure we're doing what we can to keep kids safe. And that could be everything from making sure they're safely secured in a car seat, kids are wearing bicycle helmets, firearms are safely secured at homes, anything we can do to keep kids healthy and safe. We really appreciate it. And this is an important part of it. And while I've got the microphone, I also do want to say we're incredibly busy right now at the hospital. And a lot of it is respiratory illness related. So as a reminder to folks, get vaccinated. And if you're sick, stay home, because we are a little overwhelmed at the moment. So anything the community can do to keep kids out of the hospital would be very much appreciated. Yeah.
short, no fats. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. We will now move on to, there are no introductions tonight. There are no workshops either. So we will now move on to item B, consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, a member of the public or a member of the council may request an item be removed from the consent calendar and it will be considered separately. Lisa, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on the consent calendar?
No written public comment, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom.
Thank you very much. We will now close public comment and I will take it back to my colleagues for a motion.
To approve consent.
Second.
Motion to approve the consent calendar by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilmember Villegas. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much for that. We will now move on to public hearings. I will now open the public hearing. Excuse me, wait a second. Is Hilda on? Okay, I just want to check, make sure. Hello, Hilda.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to check.
I am here and you can open the public hearing and start your
All right.
public hearing.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing for annexation number 13 regarding the annexation of territory to Community Facilities District CFD number 2005-01.
Thank you, Mayor. Just take me a moment to get the screen share up.
Okay. If you wait a moment, we'll let Alicia make her announcement.
I declare that the notice of public hearing was published on Saturday, November 5th, 2022.
Okay, you now may proceed to staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. Good evening, council members. Senior Planner Robert Smith. This project represents annexation number 13 for Vineyard Estates, Phase 3 into the Community Facilities District, which is a way to create a special tax for public service funding throughout the city when generated by new development. The district to be annexed is highlighted to the west of the city, and the map shows the other annexations previously brought into the district. The map was approved in 2021 for 130 lot residential subdivision with a condition of approval requiring the applicant to make this annexation application. The assessment would be $524.41 per unit for this new annexation, and the recommendation is to hold a public hearing, adopt the resolution of the City Council, City of Madera, authorising annexation number 13 of territory into the CFD, the authorising of a levy of tax and subsequent levy of tax to the qualified electors, conduct the election of qualified electors of annexation 13, and finally adopt a resolution of the council of the city making the declaration and certifying the results of the election and adding the identified annexation 13 into the CFD. Staff is available for questions should you have them. Thank you.
Thank you. I now open the hearing to protests, comments, and questions from interested parties. Alicia, do we have any written comments on this item?
I declare no written protests were received by the city, that there are less than 12 registered voters within the Community Facilities District, that written consents to holding the Community Facilities District elections today have been received from all landowners within the proposed annexation number 13, and that I concur with the holding of the special election for annexation number 13.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? I now close the public hearing on this item. Is there any discussion from the council? I will now move on to close the public hearing, bring it back to the council members. Is there a motion to adopt resolution authorizing the annexation, authorizing the special levy tax and submitting the levy tax to qualified electors?
Move to adopt item C1, 2.
Second.
Motion to adopt C1 and 2 by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilmember Villegas. Alicia, would you call the rolls?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Alicia, I will now ask you to call on you to conduct the election.
One ballot has been received. I now close the election and announce the results. As to annexing the property under annexation number 13 to CFD number 2005-01, there's one yes vote. I declare the annexation passes unanimously. Council, you may proceed to consider adoption of the resolution declaring the election results.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution declaring the election results, adding territory as annexation number 13 to CFD 2005-1 and authorizing the levy of special tax?
To adopt item C1, 4.
Second.
Motion to adopt C14 by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilwoman Gallegos. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Alicia,
Number 15, Mayor, one final announcement by you.
all righty, number 15, Mayor announces, okay, the mayor, the motion to adopt the resolution certifying the results of the election, adding the territory in annexation number 13 to CFD 2005-01 and authorizing the levy of special pass by a vote of 7-0. Was there an objection there? I heard that before. All righty. Are we on C3 now?
C2.
You gotta excuse us. These are always very strange side discussions that we don't do every day. So we just have to grin and bear it here. C2, vacation of a portion of Clark Street right of way between Owen Street and Taylor Street, ABN 2022-01. I believe, Mr. Smith, do you have this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and without getting too far ahead of myself, this is one of 3 vacation presentations. So we'll begin with the Clark Street right-of-way vacation. This right-of-way is located between Owen Street and Taylor Street. The general plan land use designation to the south is high-density residential, and to the north, low-density residential. Similarly, the zoning to the north is PD 4,500, and then to the south 1,500. The project is before you today due to the prior approval of the Bella Vista residential complex approved in August 2021 that included condition 69 that required the applicant to return to the city to process this right-of-way vacation to accommodate their proposed development. The site is currently vacant and disced for vegetation management. Clark Street to the west is an 80-foot right-of-way, and to the east is a 60-foot right-of-way. Therefore, reduction in this portion of the right-of-way in this section to match the eastern portion of 60 feet is deemed to be appropriate. The project is exempt from SEQA as a minor alteration in land use, and section 15300.2 is not applicable in this instance. The recommendation is to hold the public hearing, adopt a resolution adopting the SEQA guidelines section 15305 and approving the vacation of this portion of Clark Street between Owens and Taylor Street. Staff is available for questions at this point, should you have them. Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing for this item. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Alicia, do we have any written comments from members of the public?
No written public comment, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom.
Thank you very much, Mark. I will now close public comment on this item. I will now ask for discussion on item C2 from my colleagues. Seeing no discussion, I will ask for a motion from my colleagues.
Move to approve item C2.
Second.
Motion to approve item C2 by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilmember Villegas. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez? Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We will now look at item C3. Vacation of a portion of Noble Street. It's an alley along the east side and corner of Noble Street and Maple Street at southeast corner right-of-way vacation ABN 2020-02 and ABN 2021-01. Mr. Smith, again.
Thank you, Mayor. The right-of-way to be vacated in this instance is on the east side of Noble Street and includes the corner of Noble Street and Maple Street. The general plan land use in this instance is high-density residential to the west, and to the east, low-density residential. Likewise, the zoning to the west is R3, and again to the east, R1. This project is before you following the Grove Gardens residential approval from May of 2020 that included condition 34 requiring the applicant to return to the city to process this right-of-way vacation to accommodate the development. The site is currently vacant and disced for vegetation management. Noble Street is currently a 40-foot right-of-way, and the reduction to 30 feet would not affect traffic flows within this area. The project is exempt from SEQA as a minor alteration in land use, and section 15300.2 is not applicable. The recommendation is to hold the public hearing, adopt a resolution adopting the SEQA guidelines section 15305, and approving the vacation of the portion of Noble Street along the east side and the corner of Noble Street and Maple Street at the southeast corner. Staff is available for questions should you have them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I will now open the public hearing for this item. Alicia, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
I have no written public comment, Mayor.
Thank you.
And there's no one on Zoom.
Good evening. My name is Mike Hamsey. I'm with Harbison International Inc., the civil engineering company on this project representing Berry Construction. We received the condition about 2 hours ago, so I didn't have a chance to send a message saying that I would like to speak on behalf of this project. We are doing this development as a requirement to abandon part of Noble Avenue and part of the existing street to meet the requirement for the condition of approval for the apartment complex that we're doing there. And we've been working with the planning department in the city for the last couple of years, and we're happy to be here in front of you today for approval. If you have any questions, we'll be very happy to answer it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
If there are no further public comments, I will now close this item. I will now ask my colleagues for discussion and our motion.
I so move to approve C3 as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve item C3 by Councilwoman Gallegos, second by Councilmember Montes. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We will now move on to item C4, vacation of a portion of Grove Street right of way south of Maple Street, item ABN 2020-01. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mayor. The right of way to be vacated is 125 feet south of Maple Street and includes the entire 80 feet of right of way. The general plan land use designation on either side of the project is low density residential, and the same for the zoning as R1. The Grove Gardens residential application, which was the initiation for the prior vacation, was approved, and this vacation was approved in May 2020 and included condition 34 that required the applicant to return to the city to process this right-of-way vacation. The site is currently vacant and disc for vegetation management. Grove Street at this point is an 80-foot right-of-way, and this portion will be eliminated with no impact to traffic due to the cessation of the right-of-way at the neighbouring northern property line. The project is exempt from SEQA as a minor alteration in land use, and section 15300.2 is not applicable. The recommendation is to hold a public hearing, adopt a resolution adopting categorical exemption pursuant to SEQA guidelines section 15305 and approving the vacation of a portion of Grove Street south of Maple Street. Staff is available for questions at this time should you have them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. I will now open the public hearing for this item. Alicia, do we have any written comments from members of the public wishing to comment on this item?
No written public comment, Mayor.
Do we have any members of the public here present that would like to speak on this item? Mark, do we have anybody on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Thank you much, sir. I will now close public comment on this item, and I will bring it back for discussion and a motion from my colleagues.
To approve item C4.
Second.
Motion to approve item C4 by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilmember Villegas. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much for that report, Robert.
Thank you.
We will now move on to item C5, Permanent Local Housing Allocation PLHA Grant Application. I believe, Marcela, you have this item?
I do, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm going to share my screen.
Thank you, sir.
Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. Today I'm presenting on the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program.
Excuse me, Marcella, this is Arnoldo.
Yes.
Your microphone, your volume is coming in somewhat muted. I'm not sure if that's on our end or if your end or if there's a fan potentially by your microphone.
No fan. Hang on a second. Let me
change microphones potentially.
You change it to the echo canceling speakerphone.
Okay, I'm trying to get
The little caret at the bottom left of your screen next to your mute button.
Let me stop sharing a little bit. Is that any better?
Go ahead and continue, Marcella, and we'll see how it goes.
Is this any better, Arnoldo?
It is. Thank you.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay.
You're sensitive.
Okay. In 2017, Governor Brown signed the Building Homes and Jobs Act, Senate Bill 2.
Excuse me, Marcella, we can't see your
screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
You got to pick one to hear.
Let's see.
It's okay. Take your time. We'll get through this. Ah, there we go.
There we go. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So in 2017, Governor Brown signed the Building Homes and Jobs Act, Senate Bill 2. The goal is to provide a permanent source of funding to local governments for housing-related programs. SB 2 established a property recording fee of $75. The revenues from this fee are funneled into the PLHA program. The city is an entitlement jurisdiction. The city has not previously requested PLHA funds and is requesting all funds accumulated. This NOFA provides an opportunity for the city to apply for its 2019 PLHA funding allocation in the amount of $422,319. The PLHA application requires submission of a proposed 5-year allocation plan for the current funding cycle. Some of the eligible uses of PLHA funding include the pre-development, development, acquisition, rehabilitation, and preservation of affordable rental and ownership housing, including accessory dwelling units, matching portions of funds, assisting persons who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness, accessibility modifications, down payment assistance, and acquisition of foreclosed homes. The city is proposing utilizing PLHA funding in two core purposes. The first is to serve homeless individuals or those at risk of homelessness. Staff is proposing utilizing the 2019 PLHA allocation to address homelessness. Staff is proposing the remaining allocation of PLHA funds towards affordable housing. The PLHA application requirements are that the city must be in compliance with state housing element law. The city must have submitted annual progress reports on the housing element, and the city must submit a 5-year PLHA application outlining the use of funds. Should be noted that staff, HCD allows for staff to submit an amendment to this 5-year plan during the approved term. The PLHA application and 5-year plan was published and made available at the city clerk's office on November 5th, 2022. During the 10-day public comment period, no comments have been received. The public review and comment period will expire on November 16th, 2022. Staff is requesting for council to open the public hearing, adopt a resolution authorizing submission of the PLHA program grant application, Upon council approval, staff will submit the PLHA grant application to the Office of Housing and Community Development. Staff is available for questions.
Thank you, Marcela. I will now open the public hearing for this item. Alicia, do you have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no written public comment, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Good evening again, council members. Again, my name is Brandon Robichaud, Afghan war veteran and a current VFW member and adjutant for the post as well. I would recommend and put a stipulation if possible to have veterans, war veterans and such be a priority, as well as possibly moving funds into buying foreclosed houses and then turning them into possibly mental health centers for the community as well, if that is possible. I'm not too sure, but just bringing it out there to the attention. But I do know a couple of vets currently who could use some housing, and I think this program would be good for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further comment? I will now close public comment on this item. I will bring it back to discussion from my colleagues. Councilmember Montes.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So thank you, Marcela, for, I think we put this together pretty quickly. I know we were reminded of the allocation by one of our partner agencies. So I also like to thank them, Self Help Enterprises, and specifically Betsy McGovern Garcia for reminding us that these funds were available. And Arnaldo too for scrambling and letting everybody know. And I've been telling everybody too, right? A lot of our partner organizations, because like Mr. Robichaud said, there's a lot of need in the community. A lot of people have different ideas. So what is the expenditure timeline? Is it the 5-year? So as long as we expend the funds within 5 years, we should be okay?
No, so each calendar year has an allocation period. So the 2019 allocation period has to be expended by June of 2024. Every allocation year after that has to be allocated a year after. So it'd be June of 25, 26, etc. Till we can deplete the funds.
Okay, thank you. And then in the report, I did read that although we do have a 5-year allocation, we do have a proposal in this item, which I think it's good. Whatever we can do for housing. But if there are any changes, we would just have to get them approved by. Was that HCD?
Correct, HCD.
And then ask them if we can change it, and then we can change the expenses. Probably kind of late for the first allocation because we're going to have to come up with a plan and actually expend those dollars by June, which is going to be it's easier probably to partner with one of our agencies or partner agencies and say, hey, you guys have the expertise, let's do this.
Correct.
So that was my question. And again, I'm going to continue to ask for community input and reach out to our partners to see not that the plan that we have here is bad, but knowing that we have a little bit of leeway saying that, hey, it's possible that it can change. I'm just giving you guys fair warning.
Yeah, absolutely. We can submit an amendment. We would basically follow the same process that we are going through tonight. We'd go through another public comment period, bring the amendment to council, and upon approval, we can submit to HCD for review.
And that public comment period is 30 days?
No, it's 10 days is 10 days. What's required. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Those are my questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no further comments, I'll ask for a motion from my colleagues.
Move to approve item C5.
Second.
Motion to approve item C5 by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilmember Villegas. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to item D, petitions, bids, resolutions, ordinances, and agreements. Item D1 is an employee wage adjustments to offset inflation. minimum wage compaction, and recruitment and retention of full-time employees. Wendy, do you have this item?
I do, sir.
Thank you.
So there are, excuse me, 3 resolutions included with this item, and we'll use the presentation to briefly step through the information. And if anyone would like more detail on anything, please stop me. Otherwise, we'll just move forward. So the city has 4 bargaining units as part of the background here. Each has its own MOU regarding wages, benefits, and terms and conditions of work. The current MOU term for all 4 units is through June 30, 2025. In addition to the represented bargaining units, the city has unrepresented at-will department heads. These are individuals such as myself who report directly to the city manager. There is no bargaining unit or MOU for this set of positions. However, there is an adopted standard terms and conditions adopted by council that authorize the city manager to offer employment agreements within a set parameter. So the end result of this report, the requested action, is some wage adjustments. And what we are looking to offset, as the mayor announced with the title, is higher than anticipated inflation. Minimum wage compaction, it's currently at $15. It was going to stop at 15, but there was some language that had automatic increases built in if inflation reached certain points, and those have been triggered. So it will be $15.50 in January. And then we are experiencing, along with everyone else, I think, recruitment and retention of full-time employees. We're having some struggles there. So what is contemplated this evening? Council authorized staff to offer the bargaining units and unrepresented department head positions additional cost of living adjustments. What you see on the screen here is for the term of the agreements, there were 2 additional COLAs, cost of living adjustments, remaining. One in, it's a pay cycle that begins June 2023 with a July paycheck of 2023, and one same thing in 2024, the first July paycheck. What council authorized staff to offer was adding additional COLAs that will be in January of each year between now and the end of that term that ends in June of 2025. So this slide's a little busy, I know. Looking at it a little more in a picture format, right here what you have is the existing contracts with your bargaining units and what was also offered to your department heads. There were 4 COLAs over the life of the contract starting in July 2021. Those occurred each July, and there were $1,500 lump sums to be paid each July to full-time employees. What has been authorized to offer would drop in these additional COLAs in January of 23, 24, 25, and in an effort to really fight that inflation and minimum wage compaction that everyone is feeling right now. The second piece of that is that even with those COLA adjustments, we do have some positions on our adopted salary schedule that are falling below minimum wage. This is just an example of a few. And what is shaded in gray shows current pay rates, what is currently below minimum wage. We don't pay anyone below minimum wage. We put them at the first step where they're at least making minimum wage. But then in January, if we don't do something, we start to have positions that are completely less than minimum wage, which doesn't work. So what staff did was make some assumptions in making proposed pay range assignments. One was that the 2% COLA would be applied first, meaning everyone gets the COLA. And then for these positions that are being overrun, shall we say, by minimum wage, there would be additional adjustment at that level. All full-time positions with the city require prior work experience. Therefore, the minimum starting pay was set to $1 above minimum wage, which in January would be $16.50 per hour. And then lastly, the adjustments are made after the COLA, as I said. So stepping through them, these are laid out in class series so that we can see how it affects each series of classifications in the city's adopted classification plan. So going back to the information provided on the previous slide, this range right here after the COLA will be $1 above minimum wage for starting pay. And so what this would do is it would set the clerical series, which starts with Office Assistant 1 at $16.50 per hour. And then it would also adjust the Office Assistant 2 to create the same pay differential that we have right now. And then it would adjust the admin assistant a little bit. And then it would stop at that point and the changes wouldn't go higher. So this is in the finance department, our utility billing series, the accounting tech 1, starting in January would be less than minimum wage. So it's the same adjustment starting at the bottom, working our way up, and there's no recommended change in the supervisor in that series. Basically what you're gonna see in all these recommendations is that the adjustments are starting at the bottom, but we're squeezing a little bit in the middle. Usually around the supervisor or maybe between the supervisor and manager position. While it's squeezing the current spread a little bit in the pay ranges, it's not creating a compaction issue. And so that's where we're going to absorb it there in the middle. So like in this one, the tech 1, 2, 3 would see adjustments, but there would be no recommended adjustment to the supervisor position. This is your parks maintenance division. The park aide is the part-time starting position here, and it is paid minimum wage. Your parks worker 1 requires experience and performs different duties. So in this case, the part-time park aide stays at minimum wage. We're recommending removal of this position, facility aide, because we don't use it in a full-time capacity. And then that parks worker 1 is being set to the $1 above minimum wage. And then we have slight adjustments as we move up the class series. And this one, the supervisor will see a slight adjustment, and then the manager position was actually added in the budget. So we are slotting it in with an appropriate spread, and we are matching a similar division in the Public Works Department that you see here. This is the Public Works Streets Department. So the maintenance worker series in Public Works will also be set the same as the parks worker series in parks, so that they will be set equal. Once again, with the worker 1 starting at $1 above minimum wage and then shifting up. This one, the supervisor once again sees a slight change, and then there's no change to the manager. This is Public Works Sewer Division. Same classifications you saw on the prior screen, but simply showing the class series. In this case, there's no recommended change to the supervisor or manager. It will be for the maintenance worker 1, 2, and the equipment operator. This is your water distribution division. The recommended changes tie water system worker 1 to Public Works maintenance worker 2 with a 5% paid differential for water certifications. This is how the position was set up. Because that water system worker 1 is the equivalent of a maintenance worker 2, but they do have to go out and get the state certifications, which was a 5% certificate paid previously before it became a water system series. So we're ensuring that we're maintaining that relationship, and then it trickles up. And in this case, it does show an increase for the supervisor, but no recommended change for the manager. This is your water quality and conservation division at Public Works. There's a slight change for the water conservation customer service rep, because as you can see, it's not quite meeting that criteria of $1 above minimum wage come January. And then the water quality specialists, starting within training, are being set equivalent to your water distribution series to maintain that relationship as well. So how much does all this cost? In the current fiscal years, this will be implemented if adopted mid-fiscal year, so only for 6 months of the fiscal year. The cost to apply a 2% COLA to all full-time employees is about $193,000 for those 6 months. This is how I would describe it, your maximum exposure. It's based on a calculation of your budgeted positions. So this assumes all positions are full. This assumes that nobody leaves. and it was all full-time employees. So maybe a position doesn't get filled, maybe it takes us longer, maybe there's a gap because someone retired we didn't anticipate, but this represents your maximum exposure. So $193,000 for the 2% COLA to be applied in January, and then approximately $97,000 would be the cost of the range adjustments after the COLA that we just walked through. And then the total cost, as we said, these are being added in between now and the end of the MOU terms. So your total cost to make these things in combination with each other, the COLAs, the 3 COLAs going forward, with the existing COLAs that are still in the contract, with the range adjustments that we just covered. What this table shows is sort of your rolling cost going forward that's being added to your operating budget. So we have this column here is your general fund, and then this is all funds inclusive of the general fund. And so why is this number different than the prior slide? Because this includes that COLA that was already in the MOU. The prior slide was talking about the expense of the new additions. This is all of your costs, including what was in the existing MOU. So to the general fund, it's about $173,800 for the entire fiscal year. That includes the COLA that applied last July. And then $290 across all funds. Roll that forward through another fiscal year. You have recurring costs. You have a new COLA in July, and then the new COLA in January. And what that will do is it will take you to $729,000 to your general fund. Across all funds, inclusive of the general fund, is just under 1.2. And then at the end of the term, by the end of fiscal year 24-25, it will add about 1.2 million to the general fund in operating expenses and 1.9 across all funds. So the proposed action that you see in your agenda, there are 3 different resolutions. Resolution 1 has 4 attachments, and each attachment has an exhibit. But what that is that's a side letter agreement with each bargaining unit. It would effectuate the 3 January COLAs, and then for mid-management and general bargaining unit, it notes any of the positions that we just went over in the slideshow that are being recommended for range adjustments to offset minimum wage. Resolution number 2 would approve updating the standard terms and conditions for unrepresented department heads. This would add the 3 January COLAs. There are no other changes such as range adjustments for that document. I don't want to call it a group. It's not a group. And then resolution number 3 is your classification plan amendment. What is in there is the parks manager position as noted that was added in the budget, the job description and salary range, making all of the range assignment changes that were noted in this presentation and report, and then removing the couple of positions we noted, they were kind of highlighted in gray, that are no longer being utilized. And then my last slide, and Mayor, I don't know if you want me to leave this on the screen for you or take it down. Because that second resolution contemplates authorizing at-will employment agreement terms, even though it's not the approval of the actual agreement, we do our best to follow a particular section of the Government Code 54953C3, which has to do with approval of at-will employment agreements. And there's an announcement that has to be made from the dais, not by staff, that basically summarizes the proposed change verbally for the public to hear.
Thank you very much, Wendy, for that report. I will now read the announcement as required. If approved, the proposed standard terms and conditions will modify the existing agreement with unrepresented department heads to include a 2% cost of living adjustment, COLAs, effective December 31st, 2022, December 30th, 2023, and December 28th, 2024. So we will now move on to public comment on this item. Alicia, do we have any public comment on this item?
We have no written public comment, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any members here that would like to speak on this item? If not, we will now close public comment on this item. I will now bring it back to discussion and or a motion from my colleagues.
Move to approve item D1.
Second.
Motion to approve item D1 by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilwoman Gallegos. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos.
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Montes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia.
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas.
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes.
You guys would like that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Wendy, thank you very much for that lengthy report, but very well done. I know that was a lot. We will now close that item and move on to item D2, award of contract for hearing officer services for cannabis permitting processes. I believe, Mr. Smith, you have this item?
I believe it's James Troyer this evening, Mayor.
Okay, I see it, Robert Smith, Senior Planner, but yes, by all means. Who's that?
James, I believe you're on mute.
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm not able to load the PowerPoint, but I just give a quick overview. This is a request for City Council appointment.
James?
Yes.
Would you, I think maybe if you lower the volume a little bit, it's coming through really loud. And it's you're also getting
It's on our side.
Want to try that again?
Yes, this is a request for cannabis hearing officer appointment by the City Council for the city of Madera. There was an RFP that was circulated on September 30th, 2022. The RFP closed on October 31st, 2022. We had 4 applicants that applied for the position. 2 of the applicants were disqualified for not meeting the minimum qualifications. After an evaluation, Nastich Law Group was the lowest responsible bidder. And staff is recommending that the council adopt the attached resolution and appoint Nastich Law Group. Summerell Nastich is a current hearing officer in the cities of Solano, Alameda, and Placer counties, and is currently the administrative officer for the city of Burlingame, and has cannabis experience, which is a desirable qualification in the RFP. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Alicia, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no written public comment, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom.
Thank you, Mark. Any members of the public here wishing to speak on this item? If not, then we will close public comment on this item and we'll bring it back for discussion and or a motion from my colleagues.
Motion to approve D2 for the award of contract for the hearing officer.
Second.
For cannabis.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Evans, second by Councilmember Montes. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos.
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Montes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans.
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia.
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas.
Yes.
And Mayor Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you for that report, Will. We will now move on to item D3.
James Troyer.
Oh, I'm just reading what I got, brothers. Item D3, improvement agreement amendment number 1 for the Rancho Santa Fe subdivision, track number 19-5 or -5-06, allowing reimbursement for park improvements. Mr. Helmuth, do you have this item?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me, I'm trying to get my voice here. The purpose of this meeting is to consider resolution approving amendment number 1 to the improvement agreement authorizing the construction of park improvements within the Rancho Santa Fe subdivision and reimbursement for park improvements to be constructed within that subdivision by the subdivider. The subdivision is located on West Cleveland, pretty much at the city limits. And this is a picture of pretty much a substantially completed subdivision. The area outlined in red is the park area. A little bit of background on this. KB Homes initiated the design of the park improvements at the subdivision. Near as I can tell, they started the design on the park improvements probably, or the thought process on probably a couple years ago. Subsequent to the completion of the design, it's determined that staff did not adhere to the appropriate standards during the entitlement process on not just this subdivision, but several others. As a result, KB Home was unintentionally given the understanding that park construction was required as a result of completing the entitlement process. Well, typically the Planning Commission conditions of approval would require actions or improvements as a result of approval of the project. Those did not occur in this particular case. Without an amendment to the improvement agreement, the construction of the park cannot commence. The amendment to the agreement will actually call out construction of the park and reimbursement. The typical process for how it gets to a point where something's required with a subdivision or be able to be reimbursed is starts out with the entitlement process in the planning department. There's a tentative map that is prepared and approved by the Planning Commission. Along with that tentative map, there's a set of conditions of approval. Within that set of conditions, that would be where you would anticipate finding requirements for park improvements, but they were not there. Following that, the final map and the improvement agreement goes to City Council for approval. It's at that time, if there would have been conditions of approval and that they were eligible for reimbursement, they would have been included in the agreement. Since they were not, that's why we have this amendment tonight. It's KB Home designed the park at the behest of the city staff, regardless of the commission and council record. This is established through multiple conversations with staff, multiple emails discussing plan reviews of the park and what amenities should be included. Based upon staff review, KB Home could reasonably be assumed to have the understanding construction of the park was indeed part of the subdivision approval. KB Home also has told potential buyers they can expect a park. The subdivision's pretty much complete, as you noted in the aerial photo. And the last thing to be completed within it would be the park. KB Home has asked for permission to construct the park in accordance with the city's ordinance amendment to establish a coordinated acquisition development of city park facilities. That is a requirement. The developer does actually have to make that request. The recommended action tonight is to adopt a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the improvement agreement authorizing construction of park improvements within the Rancho Santa Fe subdivision, reimbursement for park improvements proposed to be constructed by the subdivider. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Keith. Alicia, do we have any written comments from members of the public?
No written comments, Mayor.
No one on Zoom, Mayor.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have any members of the public here? Absolutely. Step right ahead.
Welcome. Hello again, council members. Brandon Robershot again. Guess where I live? I live in the new subdivision area. Great information. Thank you for providing this information and the opportunity for me to speak about this park as well. As you have heard testimony tonight, there have been pedestrian concerns about speed and traffic within the city limits. And I would like for Encantada Avenue to be considered one of those areas of concern as well. Currently, it is a long stretch. People do speed a little bit. And this subdivision community is family-based. I'm a father first, and there are a lot of other fathers and family members and small children. There's also going to be a school built, my understanding, a school built in that lot next door as well. I would propose that speed bumps be put in and that crosswalks also be put in for access to the park. There are currently no speed bumps or crosswalks there, which I believe is a safety concern, especially for the community, especially if there's going to be a park there as well. I would also like to recommend and suggest that certain stipulations of the park be built, such as not just shade trees, but fruit trees possibly, or even a small community garden that the community will be responsible for. The subdivision would probably be responsible for through a neighborhood watch program or some type of other program if available. With that, I conclude, and if you have any questions for me or anything else, I would be more happy to answer for you.
Thank you very much. If there are no more public comments at this time, I will now close public comment. I will bring it back for discussion and a motion from my colleagues. Anyone?
Motion to approve D3.
Second.
Motion to approve item D3 by Mayor Pro Tem Evans, second by Councilmember Montes. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Keith, I believe you're up on item D4, Improvement Agreement Amendment number 1 for the Ivywood 1 subdivision tract number 19-5-03, allowing reimbursement for park improvements.
Yes, Sam. Thank you very much, Mayor. This report is virtually identical to the previous one, with a couple of exceptions. We'll be replacing the subdivision. This one is the Ivywood 1 subdivision. It is located on Tozier, just north of Sunrise Avenue in the city of Madera. And I'll go ahead and I'll just flip through here very quickly because, again, it is pretty much exactly the same, but I do have a couple, 1 or 2 notable changes within it. Obviously, this is the other subdivision off of Tozier. The subdivision is in many respects, the offsite improvements are complete. They're not totally done at this point. But this area highlighted in red, that is the actual park area. It will be fronting Road 28 itself. Pretty much the same text as before. Difference within this one is I did note that the city is working with the developer with regard to a outdoor recreation legacy grant. We're actively working with the developer to provide additional amenities there and to offset some of the costs of the park. What the developer has proposed thus far is a fairly standard park. What he is willing to work with the city on it is to go ahead and add additional amenities that will make it a much better park. Those additional amenities might include a half basketball court, a pickleball court, child-sized soccer field, or turf volleyball court. I'm unclear at this point how many of these can fit in the park, but there will be additional amenities if the city is successful in applying for that grant. Then one difference under staff opinion, same as before, I've noted that the city is working with Crown Development on that grant. The recommended action tonight is to approve amendment number 1 to the improvement agreement authorizing construction of park improvements within the Ivywood 1 subdivision and reimbursement for park improvements proposed to be constructed by the subdivider. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Keith. Alicia, do we have any written comments from members of the public?
No written public comment, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom.
Is there any members of the public here wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will now close public comment, and I will bring it back for a discussion and or a motion from my colleagues.
So moved to approve D4 as presented. Second.
Motion to approve item D4 by Councilwoman Gallegos, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Evans. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes,
Motion passes.
excellent. More green space. Thank you very much, Keith.
Okay, thank you.
We now move on to item E, administrative reports. Item E1 is seek direction regarding the 2023 regular city council meeting schedule. Mr. Rodriguez, I believe you have this item.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Mayor. Allow me to pull it up on the screen. The item before council this evening is a discussion to calendar our schedule for city council meetings for the calendar year 2023. Obviously, this is a fluid document. We should treat it as a living document because, as everyone's aware, things happen and schedules change. And generally, the city council meets the first and the third Wednesday of every month. The Housing Authority Board, which this council sits on, not as the city council, rather as the Housing Authority Board, meets on the second Wednesday of every month. So 3 times of every month, the city council has a meeting in this room. So again, so the purpose for tonight is to plan 2023. What's not included on the presentation or in your packet are special meetings. There are times, for example, the capital improvement program. We generally do that in April or May, and that's usually a special meeting because it's lengthy and there's a lot of information, not to mention the report that goes out, which is several hundred pages. We generally also have special budget meetings because it's a lot of information, and we usually have budget workshops. So again, while we generally meet the first and third Wednesday of the month, that doesn't include all the special meetings. And on occasion, council may recall, for example, during COVID, we had numerous special meetings. We had an emergency meeting here and there, and those would happen sometimes within 24 hours. So a couple of things that staff attempted to look at as we were looking at next year's calendar. We looked at the League of California City Conferences. They're typically 3-day conferences, and they're extremely informative. Unfortunately, they don't always happen when we don't have council meetings. Sometimes there's a lot of overlap. This year, and the same as, or for next year, it's the same as this year. Historically, there's been 2 League of California City trainings. They've added a third one, which some of these council members attended earlier this year. The same thing is going to happen next year. They're not mandatory, but as staff, we strongly recommend that council, if you have an opportunity to attend, they're excellent refreshers, but they're also excellent to learn other ideas or to learn about some of the legislation that's coming up. We also looked at holidays. We looked at the Madera Unified School calendar because some folks have indicated tonight, at the end of the day, most of us or some of us are parents first. And sometimes we have kids that have school events. We have community events. And then the one thing this calendar does not take into consideration are any other boards or commissions that this council may represent. Oftentimes, as officials of the city council, for example, you may sit on the Arts Council, as Council Member Villegas does, CAPMC Board, as Council Member Montes does. This does not take into account all the other meetings you may have. So this is the entire year. Don't try to memorize this. I'm going to break it down in months on the next slides. But again, this is what it kind of looks like for the entire year. So these are the first 6 months. And Alicia, would it be possible to minimize me so the council can see the entire calendar? So what I attempted here is we attempted to highlight January through June. The next slide will go through July through December. So again, council generally meets the first and third Wednesday of the month. The blue blocks there, starting with January 18th, 19th, and 20th, those are League of California City conferences. For the past couple of years, due to COVID, the League of California Cities has only had one conference in January, and they've combined that with the February conference. It's the same exact conference, and it's the same exact information. The difference is that the conference in January is in Sacramento. The conference in February is at Universal City in Universal Studios. So, and then in April, that's the new conference. That would be the second League of California Cities. And last year it was in Sacramento. I don't know where it's at as of right now. It's more than likely in Sacramento or Anaheim or Long Beach. So walking the council through some of the dates. January 4th is the first meeting of the year. The reason that's highlighted in red is because it's the first meeting of the year, and city offices are closed the previous week for the holidays. So historically, the past 2 years at least, council has not met the first January of the year because of that. January the 18th is highlighted because that's the league conference. And I believe 2 council members have indicated a desire to attend that conference. February the 1st is council's next meeting, but there's another conference. But again, it's the same conference, same material as the January 18th conference. We do have one council member who's indicated a desire to attend that one and potentially a second one. But that's not, I'm not confident of that quite yet. And Hilda's on Zoom right now, but council may recall that AB 361 may change next year. And there's some new legislation that's going to limit council's ability to call in remotely or to attend the council meetings remotely. March 1st and 15th, we have scheduled meetings. April the 5th and April the 19th. The conference of the 12th, there would be no disruptions. So if council would want to attend that, we would have no disruptions to the council. May the 3rd and 17th is the same thing. June 7th and 21st. The reason June 7th is highlighted in red is Madera now has 3 high schools here in the city. The first graduation, which I believe is going to be Madera South, is going to be on June 7th. Council does not have to cancel that. However, council members on occasion are invited to the graduation, or community members may be invited, or city staff may be invited, for example, the police department, the fire department. And so that's one item council may consider canceling. Note that May and June there's a couple of months that have 5 Wednesdays. So if needed, we can always add a special meeting on the 5th Wednesday. And again, some of these are for direction from council to staff. Actually, I was going to walk council through those. I'll skip that. So July the 5th. July the 5th is highlighted because the day before is 4th of July. I'm not confident if council wants to come to a long meeting the following night after July the 5th. After that, we go to September, and that's another League of California Cities conference. Past couple of years, I think it's rotated between Sacramento and Long Beach. Last year was in Long Beach. I'm going to speculate and assume that this upcoming year will probably be in Sacramento, but that does fall on a council date. October would be the 4th and the 8th. November, we have the 1st and the 15th. November of 2023, there are no elections, so there's no conflicts there. And then December, there would be no conflicts. And the green in December, the 26th through the 29th is highlighted because that's the holiday closure stipulated by the MOUs with the 4 labor groups and also the department head contracts. So City Hall is closed during that time. So that concludes the overview of the presentation. Again, this is for direction. If council would prefer to digest and have us come back at the next meeting, we can most certainly do that. But I did throw a lot at council this evening in terms of potential dates. There's no law that says council has to decide right now. So, but with that, I'll turn it back over to the council.
Councilmember Montes. So I know you're identifying, thank you, Arnaldo, for the presentation. I know you're identifying potential dates to cancel, but with that January to February, so it wouldn't meet from December, end of December to middle of February or end of February. Would that cause any disruption in, we're going to probably have some items that need to be approved. We're going to have to do some, meetings, not emergency meetings, but,
Yeah, I think missing a month and a half would be extremely challenging for the organization. And then if council were to do that, and you have every right to do that, I think February the 15th, for everyone, bring your sleeping bags. I think it would make a very long meeting.
Okay.
I think it would be a long meeting.
Okay. So
I would not recommend doing that.
okay. So the other question was, and I recognize there's value in the LLC or League of California Cities conferences and whatnot. But seeing as those are new mayor and council conferences, without you don't have to disclose who, but it's not the same council members asking to attend both of those. It's different council members, right?
Correct. It's different council members, and the council can still meet with 4 council members present. And then there's still the remote items, but for that I'll have to defer to Hilda because, as council may recall, there's a lot of nuances in the law that goes into effect January 1st.
Yeah, and I know traditionally on the September meeting we do that. I mean, because that's just a general conference for everybody, and people like to attend there. And again, there's value there. So I would say if we can probably scrub the January 18th and the February 1st, okay. Taking those days off. Because again, although I know it's important business here, but I remember the 2 a.m. meetings that we used to have, and it's not my desire to go back to those really, really long meetings. That would
I'm sorry, council member, I'm not able to hear you too well. Are you saying when you say keep those 2 dates or take them off calendar?
No, so we would still meet on those days.
Okay.
Council meetings.
Yes, and just take off the 4th, which is right after the Christmas and the week off.
Yeah, right after the holiday. So it would be a little hard for staff to scramble back and get everything done in one day, right?
And there are a lot of things that are coming up in January with new laws and the like. So I think
one day.
Yeah.
Hilda, I'm sorry to interrupt. One day is reasonable to get everything sorted out, right? I'm kidding. Sorry.
Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. I would suggest that we leave the 18th, January and February 1st on. I think we will have 4 council members here. And another thing, League of Cities is important for us to attend. It's from September to, it looks like April. Correct me if I'm wrong, Arnaldo, that's 1 fiscal year, correct? Money-wise?
I'm sorry.
September to April. It's 1 fiscal year. So we are allotted so much money for conferences. Again, before these council members were on, it was only certain amount could go. We only had a little pocket of money, but we extended that as council members to each individual council member. And if I'm not mistaken, that would not cover them going to more than 2 in a fiscal year.
So let me see. So I'm going to say historically, prior to some of us being here, right when I arrived in December of 2018, along with 2 council members that are here this evening, the council historically was allocated $800 per year, and that was expected to cover everything.
All 7 of us.
Correct. The challenge with that is that probably pays for the registration and fuel to get to Merced. And so we reconsidered that, and we, being council, and staff's recommendation was to create a separate pot, completely separate from that pot, for conferences and training. The first year we did $15,000. Currently, because we knew we added the 3rd conference, that budget is $25,000, and the $800 a year is all council receives individually per the year. So council members, you receive your monthly stipend, which is $500 a month, plus you get $800 a year. And that $800 generally covers things, so, these types of things, or if you're going to go to city-sponsored events or city events, for example, the kind of lunches and things like that. And so I don't recall, I'm going to look to Alicia. I'm not too sure what the most recent conference ran, but conferences appear to be getting a little more expensive, especially hotel rooms. And so the calendar year the fiscal year, I apologize, runs from July 1st through June. So in this fiscal year that we're in right now, there was $25,000 allocated for council members to attend that.
Okay, and I do agree with Councilman Montez that everybody on this dais has been on this dais for almost 2 years. And so these two conferences that are coming in January, February are for new mayor and new council members. So I would hope that my colleagues would take that into consideration, because this is taxpayer dollar money that we're using to go to these conferences. So I would say the 18th of January and February 1st to leave those dates. I know people travel for the holidays. I would be in agreement to take January 4th off, knowing that our staff's off the week prior to that. And in order to get those reports into us, we'd be asking some people to come off their vacation to prepare that for us. So I would be in favor of taking off January 4th. June 7th, it is the last week of school. And again, we are parents before we are council members or staff. And it is a crazy week and graduations. So if my colleagues were entertained to take June 7th, I would be fine with that, but I'm fine coming that day also. Those are my comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
I'm in agreement with all of it, so we can ride.
I think it's very important for our staff to be off and during the holiday period and not meet on the 4th. Skip that. Can you tell me, Arnoldo or Hilda, how difficult would it be? Because it looks like we have plenty of time to make changes to our meeting date.
Oh, absolutely.
And so is it possible, for instance, let's say the 18th, to move that to the following 25th, as long as we make public notice, or any other examples that you have?
Yes, because so council can direct it rather than meeting on the 18th. We can most definitely meet on the 25th. I think probably the biggest challenge for that is making sure everyone's availability. For example, if council has other commitments or other boards, I'm just not too sure.
So probably prior to that, we could ask if there will be a quorum. Will there be conflicts? But it seems to me that we have plenty of time to be able to do that rather than cancel our meetings and go into a long extended period or make it very, very odd, because we still have to deal with the business of the city.
Correct.
So that would be my opinion, rather than go through long periods. We just make adjustments, and because we do have special meetings and they're not always on a Wednesday. We could do it on a Tuesday, we can on a Monday. We just need to look and be flexible. And I think this way we're able to honor our commitments as commissioners, as council members. We're able to go to the trainings, which are very important. And I've never been to one that I have not learned something myself. As a matter of fact, I've been having discussions with others that when a council member is not able to attend and we have funds available, then we look at sending city staff to these, because you always have planning trainings, you always have city clerk trainings, other trainings besides just council member training. So that would be my suggestion, as opposed to eliminating the master plan that you have here.
Okay.
Just be open. I would ask my colleagues to be open to make adjustments and look at the calendars different ways, and also not have to make the decision tonight, because this is all a lot that we would have to digest. Right. And we'll probably go into the midnight hours, as you're saying, 1 o'clock morning. No, I want this date, whatever. Any other comments?
You have two members with their hands up there, Mayor.
All right. I'm sorry. Mark, could you tell me, Mr. Jose or Elsa?
I think Elsa had her hand up first.
I don't see the screen. I have the calendar in front of me still.
Hi, I think that another item to be considered is how much space there is between each meeting because of public comments and giving the opportunity to residents to come out and voice their concerns. So if we were to cancel, I would be in favor of having less spacing between meetings. So on January, doing it on the 25th.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly would I would be opposed to moving the meeting of January to the 25th. Again, you know, there is a lot of new items coming up for the year of 2023. The one thing that I don't like is having everything piled up for long meetings. So if the 4th is still something that we can do, I would certainly direct that we continue to keep the dates as presented. The one thing for February, if there are more than 3 members that are attending these, the city, the California League of Cities, then, you know, if there's not a quorum, then I think we can, you know, dismiss that date. But I so far, I think I heard there's 1 or 2. So I would still retain the 1st and the 15th. And as far as the 7th, again, you know, I think the meetings are important. So for me, the 7th is fine. I know that there may be other parents or other council members that may attend certain graduations, but I'm looking at it more like just the amount of work that takes to put these agendas and the time that it takes for us to complete the meetings. And then the other one would be in September. And I think traditionally we have done this before, where the 20th is the date that we do dismiss. But if we need to have the second meeting, then I would certainly recommend that we move for the 27th on September. But other than that, everything else looks pretty good. Thank you, Arnoldo, for the calendar.
Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion for this calendar because we need to post it on our website. People make plans and our calendars fill up very fast and we're on different boards. So if things are adjusted, it's hard to have somebody else cover for you if we start changing things around. Again, this is a living document. It can be changed at any time. So with Councilman Rodriguez's comments and everyone else, I would say leave the calendar except for July 5th, the day after 4th of July, and January 4th, so that the staff would have their time off that they well deserve. And other than that, leave everything the way it is. And if we need to adjust it, we adjust it when we don't have those council members available because of conferences.
Second.
Second
motion to approve the calendar as it is and make adjustments if necessary at a later date. Motion by Councilwoman Gallegos, second by myself. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. Did I hear this correctly? I thought I heard Councilmember Gallegos state that she would remove the 4th of January and the 5th of July. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that is the motion, correct?
Yes.
And everything would remain the same.
Yes. And a living document to change as needed.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Arnoldo. I'm certain we'll come back to that element at some point. We will now move on to item E2, inform council of the request for proposal for the Intelligent Transportation System, ITS, conversion for Madera Metro. Marcela, I believe you have this item?
I do, Mayor. Okay, so the request for proposal for the Intelligent Transportation System conversion for Madera Metro. In summary, as part of the affordable housing and sustainable enhancements, it will include the procurement and installment of computer-aided dispatch software, automatic vehicle location software, automatic passenger count software. I'm going to stop. I'm sorry, Mayor. I believe I skipped a slide. Let me start over. So part of the city was awarded the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Community grant for the amount of approximately $760,000 for transportation-related amenities. Those amenities include improvements to the Madera Intermodal Center, technology enhancements, and urban greening. For purposes of this RFP, we're focusing on the technology enhancements, which again include the CAD software, computer-aided dispatch, automatic vehicle location, automatic passenger count software, an infotainment system, and onboard passenger Wi-Fi. The CAD system will focus on Dollaride and ADA paratransit reservations. At present, they're handled via phone during business hours. The option that CAD, the benefits that CAD would provide, it would provide clients with real bus time arrivals. It would minimize the pickup window, and it would allow an online reservation option. The automated vehicle location software, currently the system cannot accurately inform passengers of arrival times at vehicle locations. The proposed procured AVL system includes global positioning system tracking, and this will allow passengers to track their bus online or through a transit app. It also will provide riders with real-time bus arrival information, and it will improve the accuracy of bus scheduling times. These are examples. Here's an example of a real-time signage. It allows for improved scheduling and bus arrival times. And the map image is an example of real-time tracking. So this will allow for customers to track the bus that they are waiting for via a transit app. The infotainment system will allow for onboard monitors, as can be seen in the pictures in the slide. The monitors may be used for the following: sharing of marketing of local events, providing general transit information, and any other approved media. This table outlines the process for the RFP. The release date would be, if approved, would be November 28th, 2022. The deadline would be early December for any written questions. Mid-December, we would respond to any questions on the website. Proposals would be due February 24th, 2023 at 5 p.m. If there are interviews necessary, those will be conducted between March 13th and March 16th. It would be brought before council April 5th, 2023, and the contract execution notice to proceed would be effective April 10th, 2023. The project will be funded by the AHSC grant for $280,000 and will have no impact on the city's general fund. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Maricela. There's no action is being requested. It's an informational item only, unless one of my colleagues has a question. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. Maricela, if you could thank the staff. This is a long time coming. We've been working on this for years. So I'm excited. Madera County Transportation Commission that Councilman Jose and I also sit on, hear about the needs in transportation in the city that's needed. So, and some of this were the concerns. I thank you and the staff for jumping on this, and I'm excited to see this in place.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report, Marcel.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. We will now close this item and move on to item F. Council member reports, announcements, and future agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for the mayor and council members to make brief reports on boards, committees, and other public agencies and at public events, to request updates, to initiate future agenda items, and to take action on matters initiated under the section of the agenda. Under this section, the council may take action only on the items specifically agendized and which meet other requirements for action. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. The first thing is mark your calendars. Thursday, December 1st is our downtown Christmas parade. Our Lions Club will be hosting and running that event. Shout out to our police officers that help us with that event and Public Works Streets that make sure everybody's safe and everything's blocked off in time for those floats and the band and everyone to go through. The second thing, shout out to Yuba City PD for assisting us in a very important adventure that we had with our police officers. And because of that, some justice was served in our city. The last thing I'd like to share is safe travels if you're traveling away for Thanksgiving, and come back to our city safe. With that, thank you, Mayor. I'm all done.
All righty. Thank you very much. Councilmember Rodriguez.
I have nothing to report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Montes.
Hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving.
Mayor Pro Tem Evans.
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out and tell everyone I pray that they have a great Thanksgiving and travel safely. Also, I participated and walked on Monday at from Alpha Elementary to Madera South. It was the Ruby Bridges Walk to School, and she was the young lady, the civil rights that was for the first person to African American to be able to go to school that day. Also, it was an honor to be able to go to the Tesoro Viejo, and I don't know if I'm saying it correctly or not, but they had the veterans out there, and it was the breakfast. It was a pancake breakfast, and it was very nice, very nice. The fire department was there, and we had the flag, so that was nice. Also, the Veterans Day at the courthouse, honoring all the veterans, and thank each and every one of you for your service that has served and participated. My grandson left yesterday to become a Marine, so he's now in San Diego, so I'm very proud of that. So he's the youngest of my daughter's child, and he's now in the armed forces. Also, place on your calendar, December the 18th, it's the Christmas extravaganza, and we are receiving toys, each and every one of you you're welcome to come. And it's really a great event to just be able to see the young people once we go to the door. Santa Claus out, and Brett Frazier plays our Santa Claus. So just put it on your calendar, and it's not mandatory, but it is a fun event. So it's on a Sunday, December 18th. And once again, happy Thanksgiving. God bless each and every one of you, and see you when we get back. Pass the baton back, Mayor.
All righty. Councilwoman Mejia.
I have nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Villegas.
Oh, nothing to report.
Thank you. As far as myself, I have two items. One of them, I want to thank everyone who participated in our electoral process on the 8th. Thank you very much for taking the time to vote. Regardless of whoever you voted, taking the time to vote is very important for our country, and it's also our civic duty, just like jury duty is. To those who ran in the elections, either for the first time or as an incumbent, thank you very much for your service. Thank you very much for your efforts. It takes a lot for someone to dedicate time as being an take it away from their friends and family to be able to do that. And I want to thank those who ran for the elections, regardless of whether they won or lost. And they're still counting votes, so it might take some time. The last item I want to do is our city manager, Arnoldo Rodriguez, and our chief of police, Dino Lawson, and I attended the presentation and our public comment from the Office of the Attorney General, Mr. Bonta, regarding the merger affiliations between Madera Community Hospital and St. Agnes Hospital. There is an approval process. It's not an automatic done deal. Both the institutions have to go through steps in order for it to be approved. There's some checks and balances by our government to make sure that everything is on the up and up. They go through financial records, et cetera, et cetera. I won't bore you with all the details, but it's very important that they provide us with public comment here in the city of Madera to be able to voice our opinions as to the affiliation. And both the chief and Arnoldo were very articulate in presenting our views as to the merger. And it was noted that already we had wrote a letter in support of the affiliation between the institutions. So we are optimistic that the Attorney General will approve it and that we can move forward. And that's our hope, because we need Madera Community Hospital, regardless if it's going to be named that way in the future, that we have a viable health institution right here in our community. With that, I'm going to close item F, and we will move on to item G, our closed session. Hilda, would you take us to our closed session?
Yes, Mayor. You have one item for closed session, G1, conference with labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representatives, Mayor Garcia, unrepresented employee, city clerk.
Thank you very much. Good night to all those who attended and are still here. We will begin our closed session in 5 minutes, which will make it 8:05 p.m. Thank you very much and good night. We are now coming back from, we will now reconvene to the regular city council meeting. Arnoldo, would you make the report on the closed session?
Thank you very much, Mayor. In closed session, item G1, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representatives, Mayor Garcia, unrepresented employee, city clerk. There is no reportable action this evening.
Thank you very much for that. This meeting is now adjourned at 8:31, and I want to thank everyone for participating. 2022.